And looks to me like the next one up is Rosa Pasquarella, a very good friend of mine who's going to do a piece that I will just let her do for you. Please welcome Rosa Pasquarella.
So, I'm going to talk about autism, and we'll just give you vaccines, but, you know, one and the same. Pat asked me to talk about the vaccination drama that's going on right now, so I've Googled, I've watched documentaries, but basically what's happening is there's a massive amount of people not vaccinating their children because they're afraid of autism. The thing is, that study, the one study that everyone is convinced has given their kids autism via vaccines, was debunked. That man is no longer a doctor. It was only good for about, I would say, 5-6 years. He published it in 1998. By 2004, they were already retracting. By 2010, it was gone. He's no longer a doctor. So that being said, you know, we've got to understand that what we know is basically all a lie. You've got to look at that study specifically. There are 700,000 people living in the UK, which is where the study was, currently with an Asperger's or autism spectrum disorder. He had 12 people in his entire study. That's 2 more fingers than most of us have. That is not even a fortnight. That's a dozen donuts. But will not be medical accreditation. So when I looked that up, Siri helped me do the math. And 12 people out of a population of 700,000, there were 4 zeros after the decimal before the number 1. And I wrote it down, but that's really all. It's not even close. It's nothing. Now, if you take that and compare it to this documentary I watched last night called Life According to Sam about progeria, which I'm sure people have seen on TLC. It's a rapid aging disorder. It's what the movie Jack with Robin Williams was based off of, only a lot less glamorous, no J-Lo, it's sad. Now, Sam, the star of the documentary, was lucky enough to be born into a family of doctors. His parents single-handedly created the first and currently only progeria research company. Now, within 5 years, they had found the gene on which progeria is found, and they started a first drug trial. Now, that drug trial that took place in the early 2000s had 25 subjects. 25 people with progeria testing a drug that was for blood disorders that could help them extend their lives. In 2013, the total amount of people with progeria in the world was 100. So they sampled 25% of the entire population of this disease. Yet it's not been on CNN, it's not been on the news, given you can argue it's a smaller problem, but there's a bigger effort. More so than this, excuse me, lying doctor. It just blows my mind, all the reasons that people think, okay, we don't need vaccinations anymore. I understand where it's coming from. We take our health for granted. It's because of vaccines that I don't wake up and stomp in a puddle and go, oh shit, I might get polio. But just because that's not at the forefront of our mind anymore doesn't mean it's important. You know, you think smallpox, that wiped out millions of people over hundreds of years, but it hasn't touched our shores since 1949. You are more likely to find a woman named Terry who owns a pink iMac with Napster still installed and running in the United States than you are to get smallpox. And I think that's pretty amazing, and we take that for granted. Also, it's really hard to understand where people find the weaknesses in vaccination. We also are living in a time where freeganism is a thing. I don't know how many people are familiar. It's basically eating out of grocery store dumpsters because the food is wasted. So if you're okay with eating out of a dumpster but not maybe protecting yourself from dying, I think that's a little extensive. Now my argument is, when parents say, I'm not going to have my child vaccinated, that's one thing, you know? If you don't want your child to be autistic, okay, I guess. It's kind of a dick move. But if you're cool with him dying from mumps, which are numerous outbreaks going on in the Midwest right now, good for you. You know, I don't see why that's any better. My thing is, if you're a parent and you're not up for raising a kid with special needs, maybe you shouldn't be a fucking parent. And so basically, whether he's correct or not, you've gotta rationalize. It's one thing not to have your child vaccinated, but if you've got a kid who is 2 years old, gets a croup because you didn't vaccinate him, and he coughs on a newborn on the bus at school, that newborn gets sick and dies, as there have been stories in the news as of late, that's on you. And when you start to affect other people and killing other people's kids because of your falsified information, that's a little much.
Yes.
So, regardless, in summary, dear Dr. Wakefield, whatever he's doing, I hope he's probably richer than all of us, but whatever. He's still an asshole, and I think that's the baseline. You know, there's only so much you can do for children with autism, but it's a hell of a lot more than you can do for dead ones.